Thank you so much, Jacob, for allowing me and Mike to get on the Power Entrepreneur. This is a huge honor for us because we value your community and everything that you guys do as far as putting out quality content. And I have my partner here, Mike Gussin, joining me today.
How's it going, guys? It's nice to be able to talk to some other people. I know that everyone's just been stuck inside these days. And, the main thing that we want to get across is that you can still be productive. You can still operate, you can still bring in business, and you just got to adjust to what's going on. I talked to Abel about this earlier. I wanted to start off with a quote that I read from Jamie Dimon earlier, who's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And what he said was the following. He said, entering into a crisis is not the time to figure out what you want to be. You must already be a well-functioning organization prepared to rapidly mobilize your resources, take your losses, and survive another day for the good of all your stakeholders. And I love that because it's, what? If you're established already, like fortunately we are, right now, some people are unemployed. They're getting strict on credit scores. But I was looking at it earlier. I was looking at the numbers, and from a year ago to now, the mortgage rates are down 0.5%, which means that if you're taking out a $600,000 loan, you're saving over $200 a month from what it would have been a year ago. So Abel and I are now working with people who couldn't get a loan a year ago, or they weren't comfortable with the payment a year ago, and now we're bringing them back. So using things like that has been helpful for us. I know with them, something about their team is they have adjusted to the online world and the virtual, not even just as good, better than anyone that I know in the real estate business. So, Abel, why don't you tell them a little about that? Because that's very impressive to me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, for mentioning that. I mean, part of what we're able to do during a time like this is connect with other people who are like-minded, who are taking advantage of some of the resources that we do have, even though we're severely limited in what we can do from our normal day-to-day. So I know, Mike, that some of the stuff that you've been doing already is working with people virtually as well, as far as giving them a clear picture of what their loan would look like, what their monthly expenses would look like, what their closing costs are looking like. And you're doing all of this virtually, right? You're not meeting with anybody in the office?
Absolutely. Through Zoom conferences, conference calls, just all from home.
Awesome. And I mean, what it does really is it saves a ton of time. So the other day when we were chatting on Friday, one of the things that Jason and I were able to talk about is how much time we're saving just from going virtually. So in the time that it would take you, let's say, to drive out to the office, sit down and meet with somebody, pre-approve them on the spot, and then issue a pre-approval letter, that was probably taking about like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Fair enough to say?
I'm glad that you said that because you know what? As I've been working from home, and part of me says it is business as usual, but there, of course, the conflicts and people unemployed that we're working with, but I'm going to do this a lot more often. As opposed to drive from Brooklyn to Long Island to Manhattan to Queens, and it wastes so much time when you can actually just be home and see someone like this. And it's the year 2020. What we're doing right now is socially acceptable, business acceptable. So it lengthened my workday by 3 hours. I can wake up, I can do my workout, I don't have to leave, and then I just start working. So, in a way, I'm more productive than I was before because I have so much time to do it.
Right. And I love that because in saving our time and valuing our time, it's not all about us. I mean, our clients are saving a ton of time themselves. And what that's allowing us to do is use our time for some of the things that are more important or more worth our time. And for the client, that means seeing more properties in one day, or I would say even seeing more properties in 20 minutes than they can in 3 hours if they had to drive from property to property. And a lot of the clients that we work with are very busy. They're working anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day, maybe 5-6 days a week. And their best interest is to save the time that they do have. And that's where you and I are able to help out. we've been doing it already, but like you said, you're looking to transition to doing this more frequently, and same on our end. So we've been able to sell 2 properties just in the last week without anybody even leaving their house. So essentially, we got the properties under contract for our clients using virtual tours, and also um, using a contract addendum. So when you hear virtual tour, you're like, wait a minute, this is the biggest investment, the biggest purchase of my life. There's absolutely no way I'm going to buy something like this without seeing it. And we have, obviously, we wouldn't want that for them either. So what we're doing is we're putting a contract addendum. New York State issued a COVID-19 contract addendum that essentially allows any buyer or seller to back out of the transaction at any point with no penalty. So I was actually speaking to an attorney that you and I have worked with in the past, and he said what it basically does is it means that the contract means nothing anymore. Might as well be written in crayon. But
I saw that. I saw that in the deal we're working on together right now, and I was like, wow, it's nice to see the government implementing all these things that allows people to move forward without feeling like their money is at risk.
Exactly. So, I mean, think about it. You have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars just hanging in the balance in the form of a contract deposit. So the whole reason for that contract is for your attorney to write it in such a way where you're protected throughout the entire transaction, and the seller has to pretty much abide by any agreement that you guys had before you close on the property. That's if you're looking to buy or sell, right?
I'll tell you another thing that a couple of things that they're doing now. So one of the main things that was a huge concern for everyone in the industry was in order to get a mortgage purchasing a property, an appraiser typically goes to the house. They walk in the house, they explore the rooms, they see what kind of condition the house is in, they run the comps, they determine the value of the property. And everyone was thinking, well, what if the seller doesn't want the appraiser to go in the house? That's
fair enough.
We all know that's beyond reasonable with what's going on right now. So conventional loans just started to allow drive-by appraisals, which is just one of many things that the government has done in really a short period of time. It's only been 2-3 weeks that they've been amending rules to allow business to move forward. It's one of many things that they've done to allow our clients to keep moving forward and not get stuck at the standstill. I'll tell you another thing that we were talking about earlier, and I'd like you to touch on it a little bit. A lot of our clients who we work with from the different lead sources and from the websites and from the groups that we belong to, they want to buy a multifamily residence. They want to live in it or not, and they want to collect rental income. And that is, without the rental income, they're not buying the property. It doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And right now, anyone who's watching the news or not, you can't help hear it, that tenants are allowed to not pay at the moment if they lost their job, if they're unemployed, whatever the situation is. And I know you had mentioned to me earlier, so I'm not going to speak on it too much. I want to hear what you have to say on it, where I believe what you said was that actually the landlord or the owner and our client can collect money straight from the government program, so they don't have to worry about collecting from their tenant. Is that right, or am I remembering it?
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up a great point. I mean, for so many of us who don't want to put pretty much all of our eggs in one basket, meaning pay this entire mortgage ourselves, collect zero income, that's pretty risky, right? Especially in a time like this. So what naturally happens is we start to see more demand in the multifamily space and the mixed use space. So we're getting a lot of early investors, first-time investors that want to essentially use a multifamily rental property strategy to get going, to get their portfolio going. But the concern right now is, what if I fill that vacancy and 3 months down the line, my tenant loses their job, evictions are put on hold, like you mentioned, and now I'm stuck paying this whole mortgage anyway. So one of the things that we've introduced to our clients, and what's very relevant right now, are city and state and government programs. So some of these programs are Section 8, City FEPS. There's another program called SODA. And what they do is they essentially pay the landlord directly. So it's not like a government check that's going to the tenant, and you still need the tenant to then issue the check to you or anything like that. It's directly to you. In fact, they even do direct deposit. So it doesn't even have to be a check per se. So you get monthly income. The other good thing about the program is that you get a 1 month bonus. So right now it's April. Let's just say we went into a contract for a deal with one of our clients, and we're able to close that transaction, let's say the first week of May. So now they're looking to get a tenant in by mid-May or early June. What these city programs will do is they would pay you a 1 month holding fee for that time where your property just sits vacant. So in the process, while you're getting all of the paperwork submitted for the program, they'll pay you sometimes even 2 months just for holding the apartment for their tenant. And then they'll issue you monthly payments, direct
So
deposit.
it sounds like they've essentially eliminated all risk in the situation.
Yeah. Great question. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. We're closing on a deal in the next 2 weeks where there's a tenant in the second floor paying, I think, slightly below market rent. But when they renew their city program, they're going to be paying $200, $300, or even $400 more per month. And the client that we're working with is like, of course, yeah, let's keep that tenant, because if I have to fill that vacancy with someone else and they end up losing their job, I'm pretty much out of a guaranteed payment, and I'm sitting on a vacant property
And now,
essentially.
do they need to hire? I don't think we spoke about this before. Do they need to hire an attorney or pay anyone to do this for them, or they can just call directly and you can kind of guide them through it?
Yeah, so the beauty of this is every single city, state, or government recipient, they have a caseworker. So the caseworker is the person who's running a check on the deed of the property just to make sure that you're the owner. They also facilitate the inspection for the property just to make sure that it complies with the program itself. And there's no legal fee associated with this. There's no broker fee either. The city actually pays the broker, so the owner doesn't have to pay anything for this.
You know what the best part of everything you just said, combined with what I've been thinking? This doesn't stop any of our type of clients from moving forward to buy something. For anyone who wasn't listening before, our type of client, we deal with all different types of people, but most of them buying a 2 or 3 family, they want to live in one unit and rent out the others. Everything that Abel was just saying verifies that you're not going to have trouble falling into a trap where you own a property and you're not collecting rent, because the government has made it so you're going to get paid no matter what, whether the people are able to or whether they're not. From the financing end, one of the things that has allowed, some of our clients are as young as 23, 24 years old, and they're fresh out of college, and they just got a job and they got a big bonus and they made $110,000 last year. They're buying something for $800,000. You can finance 96.5% of it, plus all of the closing costs. For anyone who's inexperienced in the industry or in the financing end of the industry, closing costs are typically 5 to 6% of the purchase price. So on an $800,000 purchase, you're financing $40,000 of closing costs, and you come out of pocket with your down payment of $30,000, $35,000. So we can still do all of that. The government hasn't stopped that. The one thing that they have stopped that we've had to battle a little bit and think and work around is that FHA, the Federal Housing Authority, would always back loans that were a little more risky. And it helped us, the housing market has all their ebbs and flows. Sometimes the government wants to tighten things up like they are right now when they're not sure if people can pay back loans or not. Years ago, they loosened it up, and they would lend to people that had scores as low as 580. They'd allow them to put down the 3.5% down and finance all the closing costs. What they did just now, which I completely understand and agree with them, is that they capped and they made a minimum on the credit score of 640. So, Abel and I spoke, and we were thinking, what are we going to do here? Because a good amount of our clients, they have subpar credit, and we work with them to get a house. I have a program called the What If scenario, where if you run your credit and say it's 610, but you have a bunch of credit cards out there and they're maxed out, and sometimes I'll see people where they have a $500 limit on their credit card and they have $500 out on it. If they just pay $300 and now they owe less than half of the allowable limit, I've seen credits jump from 610 all the way to 680.
Oh, wow.
And it's those type of things that people just don't know. You know, I can't tell you how many clients I've had call me and say, I don't even want you to run my credit. Like, it's embarrassing, you know, or don't laugh at me. And we'll laugh, and I'll say, you know what, let's see. And before you know it, they figured they were going to be renting for their entire lives. Within a year, they own a home. So the good thing about the industry is that we have those tools. So we can work. Yes, we can't lend on 580 at the moment. I'm thinking it'll come back when all of this settles down. But the fact that we know what we have to do to get the score to 640 is a very valuable resource that we have right now. And on top of that, you know, that's FHA lending. In the mortgage world, there's FHA, which is government backed, and then there's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which is backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are huge financial institutions. So Fannie Mae, actually, which for certain details in regards to the PMI being less and the rates, is often a better deal than FHA. And they're now, we as a bank from Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, we rolled out a program now where you can put 3.5% down, going conventional, and your score can be as low as 620, 630. So a lot of people in your industry, in my industry, they're sitting back like, oh my God, the government did this. How am I supposed to work? You know, it's like they're just kind of planning the reasons of why they're already validating to themselves why they're not going to earn money in the next few months and why they're not going to help their clients in the next few months. But you know what? It's not the case. You know, if you just work through, and, you know, we have clients right now who lost some money in their 401k. You know, we have clients who now lost their job. But you know what? Those people, the stock market's going to rebound. It's just, again, the ebbs and flows of the economy. And when that 401k gets replenished a little bit, that client's going to buy a house. I have other clients who are looking to refinance, but they work at a department store. They're not working right now. No matter what anyone says, I'm a positive person and I like to see everything we can do to earn, but I'm a realist. You know, if people aren't employed right now, they're not going to be able to get a loan. But if I have a client right now, right? They're doing a cash out refinance, and I've got them locked in at 3.25, which is actually the best cash out refinance rate of all time for a 30-year loan. But his wife is not working right now. But I have everything ready to go that the second she goes back to work, they're 15 years. So I'm assuming she'll go back to work, whether it's May or June. Once she goes back to work, the next week we can close.
So how does that happen? What would you need at that point? Is it just like employment verification? Is it a pay stub? How are you able to close?
Question. So what they're doing now is you need an updated pay stub within a week from closing, and they need something. Normally what they do in the industry is early in the process, they do a VOE, which is a verification of employment. Okay. And they'll send in like a paperwork showing they work there. And say you close 2 months later, we just call the boss, get a verbal that they still work there, and then we close. Okay. Everything that's going on now, the investors are extra strict. So what we have to do is right before the closing, we need a letter from the employer and a pay stub. And you know what? I agree. I'm all for being lenient in certain areas, but at a time in the economy when unemployment is the highest, I believe it's ever been, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's as high as it's ever been, let's do what we can to make sure they're working there, because, you know, we do this to make money, of course, but at the same time, we don't want to do wrong by our investors and our clients. And I would hate to be the person that just got a verbal that my person was working there, but their manager lied for them, and now my investor's screwed and my bank is in trouble. I'd rather be overly strict.
That whole mess.
Exactly. Not my style. Not what I want in my career. You know.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. And I mean, it's one of those things, like you said, it protects the client. I think I think it's something where if we can make it work for somebody or make it work for everybody, really, then we can move forward. And then we also have things in place where we can just kind of delay things a little bit. Like you said, you're just kind of waiting until she gets back to work. Once you get that verification, you're able to close. There's no sense in like rushing things right now at the moment, given the uncertainty that we're dealing with.
Yeah, you can't. Something I wanted to ask you actually, and we haven't spoke about this before, but I was thinking about it. You know, right now you guys are working with virtual showings and doing a lot online. After this is all done, do you think you're going to use virtual showings? Like, do you think that they're going to be used a lot more than they were 4 months ago?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we broke down the math. It came out to about, I think it's an hour and 45 minutes per showing. That's just for one showing. It takes us an average, I would say, of anywhere from 10 to 20 showings to sell a property. Just because some people aren't interested, some people submit offers, but they don't get accepted. And then ultimately, you have the one or two in the end that are really going for the deal and ultimately get it. So we pretty much see anywhere from like 10 to 20 showings. If you're doing an hour and 45 minutes per showing, let's just say you're pairing them up and you're getting two people per showing, still 10 times you're doing this. And at that point, you're looking at what? You're looking at 10 times. It's 105
Let
minutes.
me ask you the
That's
most
a lot.
important. Let me ask you the most important thing.
Mhm.
How has the feedback been from the clients?
Good, good. It's good because it saves them time. Even if they go through the virtual showing and then they go in person just to see it before closing, or preferably before they go into contract. If they're going in to see it, let's say a day or two later after the virtual tour, and they end up not liking it, guess what? They didn't spend all that much time going into the entire process, and they also didn't drive out to 5 different properties.
So the ones that you're doing now are the people going in the property before they sign contract, if they're signing it just based
Yeah.
off the virtual.
So it all depends on the offer. So if what we're seeing generally, if it's an investment property, if it's a multifamily property, and the numbers make sense, and we can confirm the number of bedrooms and bathrooms in each unit, and just confirm the overall condition, they're ready to move forward and just see it before the closing. Whereas somebody who's going in and they're going to live in the property, they'll probably put a contingency in their initial offer to see that property before the contract.
But it
So
saves
case
all
by
the
case.
time. You know what? I was thinking about it 100% one way or 100% the other way. But the reality of it is that you're going to narrow down someone's search by so much by
Yeah,
showing properties virtually, and maybe they'll narrow it down to seeing one or two in person, as
yeah,
opposed to driving around showing them 50.
100%. And just to kind of, and I love that you asked that question because let's just say none of this is going on right now, right? Right now it's about to be 4:30. I'm showing you a property because you're interested in purchasing a home, but I'm going to take you out to, let's say, 3 properties tonight. With traffic and everything to account for, it's probably going to take us about 2.5, maybe even three
Oh
hours
yeah, that's
from the
evening
time
activity
the
right
house
there.
to the back. What if I can show you those same 3 properties in 20 minutes? You don't even have to leave that chair right there. What would you rather have? It's going to give you more time, right, to spend with your loved ones, more time to be effective, let's say with work or whatever it is that you want to do. You're giving people their time. It's what could be better than that? What could be better than
I think that you guys are really, again, I talk to realtors. It's my job to talk to realtors and work with them. I think you're really going to get a step up on everybody else by mastering the process of these virtual showings. I think it's, because I'm trying to think of it right now. If I'm going to buy something, I don't need to go schlep out to a million properties. It's silly.
Of course, of course. And it's also something that allows me to do it on my time, right? So if my client was going to be available to physically see a property only at 7 p.m. on Thursday, and I happen to have an appointment at that time, guess what? I can drive to that property on Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'll film it, and they can see it, right? So now if they see that property and they really like it, I'll arrange so that they can still see the property on Thursday, just to confirm that what they saw was, was actually what was on the tour, and I don't even have to be there. So I'm able to save everybody time, where that could have been, let's say Thursday 7 p.m. could have been their first time seeing it. It's really their second time seeing it, so that now they can get the ball rolling and jump on the opportunity. So, I mean, it's really about adjusting, like you said. This is a time where you can sit back and think about everything that's happening, everything that's changing, and kind of, play with your fingers and like, oh my goodness, and get all nervous and say what's going to happen. Or you can put your foot on the gas. And I love what you're doing as well. One of the things that really stood out from the quote that you brought up was just kind of carrying on. Keep that momentum that you've already been building up during this time. So what does that look like for you? I know we were mentioning, like exercising and that kind of stuff, but what is it that's allowing you to keep everything feeling normal, even though we're going through such a big change?
I think that routine is unbelievably important when keeping your head sharp, keeping your head clear. Not if you just wake up and go to the couch right away and start watching TV, you're going to feel like a lazy bum. What I mean? And I laugh at it. Like, I see all the stuff, all the memes on Instagram, it's actually hilarious, and I think that part, there's one part of keeping your head clear of laughing at the negatives and just accepting them for what they are, but you got to balance that out with some hard work. And I think that way too many people out there aren't doing the second part. Every morning, I was telling you earlier that, I'll leave my apartment. I live on the Upper East Side, right by the river. I'll put on my mask and I'll go to the river, and I run 3 miles along the water. And you know what? I'm at the same time, you got to be careful. I put on my mask. I'm 6 feet away from everybody because, God forbid, most important is everyone's health.
Right.
We're just talking about a clear head and being able to be focused all day. When I do that run, and my lungs are burning
after,
and I'm sweating, and I come back and I shower and I cook up a healthy breakfast, I make my coffee, I'm ready to go, man. Yep. I'm ready. And in our industry, if you know this, I know this, if our clients feel that we're not into it, they're not into it.
Yeah. How can somebody be enthusiastic about working with you if you yourself don't sound enthusiastic? I agree.
It's one of the things that, my father trained me in this industry, as you know, and he always said, number one, you have to make it a teacher-student relationship. You have to teach your clients so they understand what you're talking about, and you're educating them through the whole process. And you got to be like their best friend who cares more than anything. Fortunately for me, and not to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure for you also, it's not hard to feel that way. It's just how we are.
Yeah.
So when I get my routine going, and fortunately, my girlfriend works all day. She works from home, and being in an environment where someone else is working and I'm working, and, I make sure to clean the apartment. I make sure that in my free time, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure there's some alcoholics being made during these times.
Yeah.
Have a glass of wine on the weekend, keeping healthy habits. And you can do it, man. It's not, once you start doing it, it's not difficult to keep. So it's like, you got to keep those things just to keep the mind sharp.
Yeah, and I like that you bring up a good point. It's really just doing those small things every single day, just keeping that habit. It reminded me, there's a book called The Slight Edge, and what I took from the book, I think is Jeff Olson, the name of the author. But my biggest takeaway from the book is that those most important things are the very small things that are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do, right? So what we have to do is just keep going, as far as going for that run every morning, stretching, eating a healthy breakfast. All of this is pushing us towards our goal. And what I love about the fact that we have this platform today is that we're speaking with other entrepreneurs who speak the language. They totally understand what their responsibilities are day to day. And I love that you bring that up, because even though things are so different right now, really our habits shouldn't be changing. If anything, we should be uh, even more strict with ourselves as far as accountability than we ever have before. Now, Mike, being that these are some of the things that you've been doing. You mentioned that that your girlfriend's working all day and that sort of thing, and it's a similar environment. Do you have like accountability partners or anybody that you keep in contact with specifically, just to kind of keep you focused, or do you already have that, man? Because that sounds like a great setup, man.
So it's a very good question. I have a couple of different ones. And number one, thankfully, my girlfriend works very hard. So if I were ever getting late, say I didn't have any calls or no clients, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Mhm.
like you said, it's way easier to lay down on the couch and watch an episode of TV than it is to figure out something to be productive.
Yep.
Fortunately, if I'm surrounded by someone who's being productive, I can't be lazy. It's
Yeah.
just not in me.
Yeah.
So without trying to, we don't talk about holding each other accountable. We just do it.
Yep.
I also have a couple of friends from college. I went to University of Florida, and they're both lawyers, and they're going through the same thing. They're both partners at their firms. And when you're a partner, it's amazing when the company is thriving. You make a lot of money. It's great. Right now, this is both of their first year as partners.
Oh, wow.
No
Okay.
business is coming in, so they need to do what they have to. So we keep each other accountable. We send each other our meals that we make. We share our exercise regimen with people. So doing that has helped me to stay healthy. And you know what? The couple times that me and you have gone to the office or just to call and chit chat, it's good. I have a couple other realtors I just shoot the shit with. It's nice just to have people to talk to, but I try not to talk to, there's some realtors who text me saying, and they'll just text me saying, how terrible is this, LOL? And you know what? Sure, I could laugh it off, fine, but that comment and engaging in that conversation is not helping my mindset.
Not at all. Not at all, man.
And you know what? I really feel like, look, there's a million different quotes out there that are based around the fact when you go through something hard, you come out stronger. And it's like right now we're working with, it's like we're going for a run with weights on our ankles.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. You're right.
Yeah.
It's like you're running out. It's like, wait a minute. Yesterday did not feel, or February did not feel like this, and now March.
But it's like I look to my left, I see you running with the weights. I see Jacob running with the weights. I see my girlfriend running with 10 weights on her. And it's like, you know what? There are some people who are just sitting at the starting line and they didn't even move yet. So imagine what we're going to feel like once this is over.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up the analogy, it's like we're going to be able to run 100 miles an hour.
100%, man. Our knees are going to be coming up to here without. Yeah. And listen, that's what I love about. That's what I love about even being on a platform like this, because Jake and Jacob have built an amazing community of like-minded people who exemplify everything you just brought up. And to your point also, every time you and I speak, I feel like somebody just put a battery in my back, and I'm like ready to get back out there, analyze more deals, submit more offers, just kind of go to bat for our clients, and we can't do that as much without that kind of boost and that kind of accountability. I see somebody put something in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mike or myself at the moment? I know, Jacob, you mentioned that there's usually not as much interaction on the Q&A, but if anybody has a question, feel free to shoot it. What I'll do is, Mike, I'll start typing in my contact information for everybody to everybody to reach out to me who wants to reach out. If you want to give like a parting message or a parting thought, and then once you're done, you can type in your contact information in the chat as well, and I'll give some parting thoughts.
Perfect. First of all, I want to say thank you to Jacob. Just being able to talk to multiple people at once and share some of my thoughts, and knowing there are other people out there who are still working hard and want to learn about different industries, it just put an extra pep in my step, which we all know that we need as much of that as possible right now. As far as from a business standpoint, I am a mortgage banker. I've been doing this 11 years after I got my finance degree. Anything you ever need, we have a lot of different programs. Even if you just need input, feel free to message me. And again, thank you very much. I'm going to put my information on the chat right now.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thanks for those words. And again, for anybody who's listening, Michael Gussin has helped many of our clients in very different situations, whether they're investing in a property for their first time and have little down payment or not so great credit. Mike has been able to put some excellent deals together where our clients always end up winning, but more importantly, they get towards their long-term goal. So as all of us here are entrepreneurs, I'm pretty sure what we're all kind of looking to do is grow our businesses respectively, grow our following, grow our base, and really save as much money so that we can keep investing in our businesses and other assets. So that's why I love partnering with Mike, because he's able to keep everybody going towards their goal and making sure they get there as soon as possible. I guess what I would say is anybody who's out there looking to continue to propel their business forward during this kind of time, my parting words would be to connect with other like-minded people. You have a great platform here with Jake and Jacob. I would also say reach out to people on social media who are doing similar things that with respect to your industry and what you're doing, or who have already succeeded in that industry, and just reach out, get some kind of mentorship, some kind of accountability going, so that once all of this blows over, you'll be rising to the top. You'll be ahead of everybody else in your industry because you did not take this extra time for granted. So again, I want to thank you guys for having us on. Mike, thanks again, man.
Really appreciate it.
Stay
Thank
safe,
you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.